moving into Unit 4. And just to let you guys know, Unit 4 and Unit 5 are going to be dealing with a bunch of triangle stuff. So buckle up and let's get going with some triangles. So the first thing we're looking at is 4.1, and we're looking at some triangle angle theorems. So basically some basic theorems that you guys need to know in order to be able to work some problems that you will see in the future going in through Unit 4, okay? So the first thing we're gonna look at is we're gonna look at how to classify some certain triangles. So that means when we look at a triangle, what type of triangle do I have? And basically, what are we gonna do with that, okay? So the first thing we're gonna look at is angle classifications. And what that means is whenever you're given a triangle, you're gonna look at the angles and you're gonna be able to determine what type of triangle that is just by looking at their angles, okay? So we're gonna be looking at 3 different types. So the first one we're gonna look at is if we look at this triangle right here, it has one obtuse angle. So that means this is going to be called an obtuse triangle. So obtuse triangle. Okay, because if we look here, it has one obtuse angle. So one obtuse angle, okay? The next one I'm gonna look at is gonna be an acute triangle. So that means all of the angles are acute. Acute angle means less than 90 degrees, okay? Obtuse means more than 90 degrees. Acute angle, so if we look, all 3 of these angles right now in this triangle are gonna be acute. So this is going to be known as an acute triangle. Okay, so it has all acute. Sorry, I spelled that. Okay. Then the last one we're going to look at is called a right triangle. So obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle. Acute triangle has all acute angles. The last one is going to be a right triangle, which means it has one right angle equaling 90 degrees. So this is going to be known as a right triangle. Has one right angle. Okay? Or right means 90 degrees. Okay? So those are the 3 triangles of angle classifications. Now what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the sides of the triangles and we're going to classify it that way, okay? So right now if we look over here, I'm going to zoom into the top right again. We're looking at side classifications. So that means we're going to look at the triangles, we're going to determine the sides, and we're going to determine what type of triangle that is by their sides, okay? So right here, if we look, we have a triangle with a really long line, a medium line, and a short line, meaning all 3 sides are not congruent. There's no congruent sides. This is going to be known as a scalene triangle. Okay, which means there are no equal sides, meaning all 3 sides are different. This is a scalene triangle. Okay, the next one we're going to look at, if you look, this line, second line, and third line are all congruent, okay? All of them are congruent. So this is known as an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangle, which means all sides are congruent and all angles are congruent as well. So all of the angles are going to be congruent as well. So ladies and gentlemen, equilateral is all the sides are congruent and all the angles are congruent. And then our last one over here, if you look here, just these 2 sides are going to be congruent. So I'm going to mark those congruent. So this is going to be known as an isosceles. I always have trouble spelling this guy. It's going to be known as a isosceles triangle. So isosceles triangle, which means it only has 2 congruent sides. So those 2 sides are congruent, which makes it an isosceles triangle, okay? So those are your angle classifications and your side classifications. And just to let you guys know, you can combine those together. So like you could have a obtuse scalene, or you could have an acute equilateral triangle. It's just the way you can combine them, but these are the ways you can classify those, okay? All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna look into the 3 theorems that we're gonna learn about today, okay? So the first one we're gonna look at is the triangle sum theorem, okay? So it's basically how you read it. The triangle sum theorem states that all 3 angles of a triangle, if you have any triangle, if you have a triangle, all 3 angles, if I add those together, are gonna add up to 180 degrees. So angle A, angle B, and angle C here, all 3 angles are always gonna add up to 180 degrees. So what that means, if I have one of those missing, I can add these 2 together, subtract it from 180 and get the third one. So again, all 3 angles of a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. That's the angle, the triangle angle sum theorem, okay? So the next one we're gonna look at is the triangle exterior angle theorem. And whenever I say an exterior angle, meaning if I took a line of the triangle and I extended it out, the angle outside of the triangle, that's the exterior angle, is gonna be the sum of the 2 remote angles. So that means I'm gonna take these 2 angles right here that are opposite of that angle, I'm gonna add those together and it's gonna equal the exterior angle. So right now, if you look, the measurement of A plus the measurement of B is gonna be equal to the measurement of Z. So I would take those 2 remote angles, angle A and angle B, I'm gonna add those together and it's gonna equal angle Z, which is my exterior angle, okay? And then lastly, my third theorem that we're gonna talk about is the isosceles base angles theorem. So just a while ago, we talked about an isosceles triangle has 2 congruent sides next to each other right there, or 2 congruent lateral sides. And basically the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. So if you look here, my 2 base angles are the base angles on the bottom of my base of my isosceles triangle are gonna be congruent to each other. So this is 70 degrees and this is 70 degrees. So that means if you have an isosceles triangle, your base angles are automatically congruent. So angle A is equal to angle C. So these 2 angles are equal, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take these theorems and we're gonna apply it to my examples that are down here at the bottom of your notes, okay? It says that we need to find the measurement of X here, okay? So right now, if you look, we have 3 angles of a triangle. We have 52, 43, and X. So right now, I know that all 3 angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So I know that this angle plus this angle plus this angle are gonna equal 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and write that out. So I know 52 plus 43 plus X here is gonna add up to 180 degrees. So now all I have to do is just solve for X. So that means 52 and 43 is gonna end up giving me 95. I'm gonna subtract 95 on both sides. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna subtract 95 on both sides. This is gonna cancel, so that means X is gonna be equal to 85 degrees. Okay? So X is 85 degrees because of the triangle angle sum theorem. Okay? So right now, I have a triangle, and it looks like right now, if I extend this line out, it gives me an exterior angle right there. So I know that the exterior angle is just the sum of my 2 remote angles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the 2 angles opposite of this angle here, so 21 and 34, I'm gonna add those together and that's gonna give me the value of X. So 21 plus 34 is gonna give me X. So 21 plus 34 is going to be 55 degrees. So X is going to be 55 degrees. That's my exterior angles theorem. Okay. So right now on number 3, it shows I have an isosceles triangle, okay? And so right now, I know that in my isosceles triangle, these 2 angles right here are gonna be congruent to each other, okay? So that means A plus C plus 78 are all gonna add up to 180, but I know that this angle is gonna be congruent to this one. So what I can do is I can represent both of those angles as the same variable, okay? So I'm gonna represent A as X, I'm gonna represent C as X. So right now I know angle A, which I just represented as X, angle C, which I represented as X, plus angle B, 78, is gonna equal 180 degrees, okay? So combine the X's gives me 2X, I'm going to subtract 78 on both sides, which is going to give me 102 over here. And then I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, which x is going to equal 51 degrees. So that tells me both of these angles are going to equal 51 degrees. So on my problem, I need to find the measure of angle C, so that is 51 degrees. Boom, done. So ladies and gentlemen, you're taking these 3 theorems, you're going to apply those in your skill check. Let me know if you need any help. Peace.